In South Africa, the 15th BRICS summit continued on its second day. Heads of states and government of member states addressed a common currency for trade, the promotion of peace talks, and the group's expansion. In Chile, there fell after floodings and heavy rains rose to 4. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated. And India reaffirmed its position as a leading actor in space exploration as its Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully landed on the moon's south pole, a world's first. Hello, welcome from the south. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Wednesday, South Africa hosted the second day of the 15th BRICS summit. Participants addressed the creation of a common currency, the promotion of peace talks, and the applications for membership of 23 countries to the group. Under the theme BRICS and Africa, Partnership for Mutually Accelerated Growth, Sustainable Development and Inclusive Multilateralism. The summit takes place in Johannesburg since August 22nd. On Wednesday, the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa held a plenary meeting where they addressed issues such as the incorporation of other countries into the bloc, the progress of a process of de-dollarization in the Global South, and the use of national digital currencies in commercial transactions. During the summit, Brazilian President Lula da Silva spoke on the challenges facing the world today.
We face a more complex scenario than when we met for the first time. In just a few years, we have gone backwards from a multipolar situation to one that is returning to the absolute mentality of the Cold War and geopolitical competition. This is a foolishness that generates great uncertainties and pokes the brakes on multilateralism. We know where this path can lead us. The world must understand that the risks involved are unacceptable for humanity.
Chinese President Xi Jinping warned of uncertainties in the global economy and called for greater cooperation among BRICS countries.
Currently, the momentum of the global economic recovery is not stable. International institutions predict that the world economy will grow by less than 3% this year. The challenges facing developing countries are more severe, and there is a long way to go to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The BRICS countries should be companions on the road of development and revitalization and oppose decoupling and broken chains and economic coercion.
On Wednesday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he supported the expansion of BRICS membership.
Proposed G20 membership for African Union countries. I believe all the BRICS partners are with the G20 and everyone will support our proposal. All these efforts, by giving them a special place in BRICS, will give self-confidence to the countries of the Global South.
For his part, Russian President Vladimir Putin thanked the leaders of the five-nation bloc for their active involvement in mediating the Ukraine crisis.
We are grateful to our BRICS colleagues who are actively involved in trying to end this situation in Ukraine and achieve a just settlement through peaceful means. Dear colleagues, the main thing is that we are all unanimous in favor of a multipolar world order that is truly just and based on international law.
In Peru, the Chinese state-owned company COSCO Shipping declared that its new port mega project in the north of the capital, Lima, is in the middle of its construction and that it would start operating by the end of 2024. According to COSCO Shipping, Peruvian cargo destined to China currently takes 45 days, while it is projected that with the startup of the port of Shanghai, this time will be reduced by 10 days. The Peruvian port, located on the central coast of Peru and about 80 kilometers from Lima, aspires to become a gateway to Asia for the country's agro-exports. Built by COSCO and the Peruvian company Volcan, which has a 40% share in the project, it involved an initial investment of $1.3 billion and is expected to have 4 docks with a capacity for 18,000 containers.
This port will be the gateway to Asia, not only to China, to Asia. Today there are no established routes neither from Callao in Peru nor from Chile standardized by the shipping companies. This port will give us the opportunity to have a direct route to export our products to the big market of Asia.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Chile, the death toll after floodings and heavy rains rose to 14. Thousands of people have been evacuated. Local media reported that the rains, which began on Saturday and diminished on Tuesday, affected 5,000 people and left 20,000 isolated. President Gabriel Boric declared a state of emergency in the regions of O'Higgins, Ñuble, Biobío, and Maule, the most affected so far. In view of this scenario, the Ministry of Education has suspended classes in more than 900 municipal schools in 60 municipalities in the central southern part of the country.
Early in the morning, the situation worsened because a canal a little further upstream that is connected to another road leaked, and later it all flooded here. Water is flowing, but we don't know how much more water is coming from the mountains and other canals. There are only canals around us here, and they are already full, and that's why the water has practically gone out and everything is in the streets.
On Tuesday, authorities in the Dominican Republic closed much of the country as Tropical Storm Franklin is expected to reach the island La Española that it shares with Haiti. According to forecasts, the storm will cause flooding and there is a risk of landslides. Dominican officials announced that schools, government offices, and businesses were closed on Tuesday at noon local time and will only be reopened on Thursday. Meanwhile, some neighborhoods in the capital Santo Domingo are already flooded and are bracing for the worst when the storm makes landfall this Wednesday.
The measure we take here is to wait until the last minute. We don't go out just because there is a storm. When the water rises, then we look for the neighbors to help us, or we go to the emergency rescue. But we're prepared.
In this context, Haitian authorities expressed concern about the heavy rains, noting that severe erosion in many places could lead to serious flooding. In the meantime, Haitian Prime Minister Henry called for caution and warned people to stock up on water, food, and medicine and stay away from floods.
We are committed so that during this time people can continue to find shelter, to find drinking water, to find medical support if they need it. I know that there are many people worried. I came to tell people to have faith that we will act quickly if necessary.
In the United States, the death toll from the Maui wildfires in the state of Hawaii rose to 115. On Wednesday, the mayor of Maui County, Richard Bison, confirmed the number of deaths and assured 35 bodies have been identified while another 850 people are still missing. Bison also stressed that rescue teams are still in the recovery process. Therefore, these figures will likely continue to increase. U.S. authorities confirmed it was the deadliest wildfires in any U.S. state in more than a century and the worst natural disaster in Hawaii's history. Saudi Arabia's Mecca, home to Islam's holiest sites, has been seeing extreme storms and rain that affected pilgrims, charter schools, and caused chaotic scenes. Hussein Al-Qahtani, spokesman for the National Center for Meteorology, posted on X, the social platform formerly known as Twitter, that the storm brought gale force winds exceeding 80 kilometers per hour. The official added that the Mecca neighborhood of Al-Qaqiya recorded 45 millimeters of rain within 24 hours. Conditions appear similar to a 2015 storm that fell a crane at the Grand Mosque, killing more than 100 people and injuring hundreds more. Saudi authorities reported no casualties or significant incidents as a result of Tuesday's storms. According to residents, flash flooding had mostly dissipated by Wednesday morning, local time. In South Korea, citizens gathered near the Japanese embassy in the capital Seoul to protest against Japan's plan to drop wastewater from the Fukushima power plant into the Pacific Ocean on Thursday. Tokyo's plan prompted a response from China and partial import bans on Japanese seafood by Hong Kong and Macau. The plant operator said it diluted 1 cubic meter of the wastewater late on Tuesday with about 1,200 cubic meters of seawater and let it flow into position in a pipe. Environmental activists described the Japanese government's action as a strategy to influence nuclear terrorism on neighboring countries and all humanity by dropping nuclear wastewater into the ocean.
It seems that the Japanese government is finally trying to go down a reversible path, thoroughly ignoring the opposition concerns and demands for alternatives from China and numerous Pacific countries. It is set to continue for over 30 years. I just can't imagine how the environment will be polluted by dumping off nuclear contaminated water. No one will know as we are faced with an unprecedented situation that we have never experienced before.
On Wednesday, Norway inaugurated the world's biggest floating wind park in the North Sea, an emerging technology considered promising for the transition from fossil fuels to green energy. The field is located some 140 kilometers offshore. Unlike wind turbines that are fixed to the seabed, floating turbines are, as their name suggests, mounted on a floating structure anchored to the seabed. This makes it possible for them to be installed in deeper waters and further from the coast, where winds are more consistent and stronger. The construction of high wind tympan, in depth between 260 and 300 meters, had a budget of $691 million. According to the Prime Minister, the project is highly expensive, but electricity must be from renewable sources if Europe wants to reach its ecological goals. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Germany plans to ease rules for obtaining citizenship under legislation approved Wednesday by the cabinet. The government said the move will improve the integration of immigrants into German society and help an economy that is struggling due to a shortage of skilled workers. The legislation still requires approval from the lower house of parliament. The decision could take effect in January, depending on how quickly the process advances. The government plans to make people eligible for citizenship after 5 years in Germany, rather than the current 8 or 6 years. Restrictions on holding dual citizenship will also be dropped. Applicants will in most cases be required to prove that they can support themselves and their families without receiving state benefits.
We must not forget that the reform follows years of debates that unfortunately were often marked by exclusion, resentment, and cheap propaganda on the backs of the people who have lived and worked in Germany for many years and thus contributed to a prosperity.
Also in Germany, preliminary data revealed on Wednesday that market activities experienced their sharpest decline in over 3 years. During August, according to S&P Global, the ACOB German Flash Composite Purchasing Managers Index fell from 48.5 in July to 44.7 this month, recording the lowest rate since May 2022, and underperformance from experts forecast of 48.3. At a reading below 50, the numbers indicated continued contraction in activity growth. Cyrus de la Rubia, chief economist at Hamburg Commercial Bank, said any hope that the service sector might rescue the German economy had evaporated. In Zimbabwe, polling stations opened on Wednesday for key general elections. More than 6 million people registered to vote at some 12,000 polling stations across the country. Citizens will elect their next president as well as members of parliament and local government councillors. The two leading candidates in the presidential race are the current head of state, Emerson Mnangagwa, and the opposition's leader, Nelson Chamisa. The election is marked by energy shortages and a high cost of living coupled with a severe inflation crisis, with the local currency, the Zimbabwean dollar, having lost 86% of its value between January and June. In the context of elections, Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa arrived at a polling station in Harare to vote. During a press interview, Mnangagwa emphasized that he expects peace and fairness during, before and after the elections.
Around, there's been more awareness than in the past. I think we shall have a higher turnout this time around. And besides, we now have more than 6 million people registered as voters. Last time we had only about 5 million. So there's 1.5 million more. And I think this time around, there was quite publicity. And most of our people, even the younger generation, are very interested to cast their vote, because I've seen in media that, for the first time we wanted to show that we also have rights to make our decisions. It's very good.
In Pakistan, 8 people were rescued from a broken cable car in the northwest of the country after being stranded for more than 6 hours. 6 children and 2 teachers from a rural community had boarded a chairlift to go to school, but a cable broke along the way. The group was trapped in mid-air, suspended 270 meters above a river gorge in Battagram district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. After 6 hours, a law enforcement helicopter came to the rescue, but strong wind currents prevented it from proceeding. Finally, they switched from an aerial effort to a rescue operation to approach by a makeshift chairlift, and slowly the 8 people were rescued.
Before, we were 3 or 4 people on the cable car. Then the 8 of us were inside the cable car. When we got to the middle of the cable car, the cable broke and was hanging. We were scared and upset. We spent the whole day in fear.
In India, police authorities reported that a railway bridge under construction collapsed, killing at least 26 workers and injuring 2 others. The incident happened on Wednesday in the town of Sairan, in the northeastern state of Mizoram. Local media reported that up to 40 workers were at the site when the bridge collapsed. However, police said 28 workers were present. According to local authorities, rescue workers have been able to recover 13 bodies so far, and efforts continue to recover the remaining bodies. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated that all possible assistance was being given to those affected. On Wednesday, India reaffirmed its position as a leading actor in space exploration as its Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully landed on the Moon's South Pole, a world's first. The Moon's South Pole is an unexplored area. The spacecraft was launched last month and landed on the lunar surface at around 6 p.m. local time in India. The milestone makes India the 4th country after Russia, United States and China to achieve a moon soft landing. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is attending the 15th BRICS summit, stressed that the success of India's mission to the moon does not belong to India alone. This success belongs to the whole of humanity. The Prime Minister also pointed out that all nations can aspire to the moon and beyond.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website, TeleSUREnglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.